Hello, my name is Bodil Bjerring. I'm a coach and consultant for tech startup scale-ups and female technology leaders. And today I have the pleasure of talking to Beáta Dobsa, who's the CEO and founder of Tripful. And we're just going to have a casual little coffee conversation. So grab your coffee or stand in the queue for it or whatever you are doing. And just see if you can get inspired from this little conversation. So Beáta, will you tell us a little bit about Tripful and why you're so passionate about this product?
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Bodil, for having me. I'm so excited to be talking to you. So Tripful, my company. So Tripful is a travel buddy app for women. And what we do is basically we're going to roll out a new app in a few months. And with that, women will be able to find female travel buddies or women to hang out with at the next destination or the destination where they're heading to. Tripful started about 2 years ago. Back then, I was in Malaysia. I was doing my internship, and I really wanted to explore Asia. I was super, super excited, and I just couldn't find anyone to travel with me. And so basically, I just tried some travel buddy apps, and I had really bad experience on them. I got so much flirty messages, so much unwanted sexual attention that I just deleted them. And I went to travel alone, and I thought there should be a platform or some kind of community for women to find each other, to connect, to travel together. And that's basically how Tripful was born.
Yeah, and the travel app, I'm sure a lot of people are thinking Corona times, what is this travel app doing in Corona times? But in this conversation, we want to talk about what people never ask and that you would love to talk about. So unless you want to go into the Corona conversation, we're going to talk about mental health for founders, because that's something you say people never ask about it, and it's super important, and I think it should be talked about more. So how did you find this topic? How did it become important for you? How did it come up on your radar?
It's been around since I started my company. It's actually, now you're mentioning Corona. Let's not go in there, but it actually has, COVID has a direct effect on my mental health. So I feel like they are somewhat related. I think the first time I heard about mental health and entrepreneurship in the same context was Tech Barbecue last year. And they had a panel on it and they had some discussion. And at that point, I thought, okay, this is really cool. This is really interesting because I felt like no one talked about it. I felt like you start a company, you get a good idea, you start working on a problem, and then you sort of like expect it to go like this. Like the curve is just going up and there are no difficulties and so on and so forth. And that's why I think that it's so important to bring mental health into the mix, because it's not going to be like that. From the news and from like all the startups, you hear that the idea was born 2 years later, they raised X million dollars or euros, but there are other parts of the startup journey that I think people should talk about. And that's why I think mental health and like founders are an important topic.
Yeah, it's like we always share the successes, and when you go to LinkedIn, it's all about success stories and who raised the big round and the big results. That's what you mostly see, right? So
yeah, exactly.
So what would it look like if we were going to share more of our failures?
I feel like we should, like, the reason for this is to keep it real, not to have founders, not to have unrealistic expectations when you start a company. Because I also, a lot of times I felt that a lot of times I don't know what to do. I screw up. I make mistakes, and I think it should be communicated that it's okay. Everyone does that, and life just goes on, and you don't have to give up. There's nothing wrong with you. I think the way we are becoming more real on Instagram, for example, should also be translated into the founder world.
Yeah, it's like being a founder is so much of an inner journey as well as building a company, isn't it?
Yes.
Like you have to grow with all the challenges you meet. And yeah, it reminds me of an Eckhart Tolle video I saw recently, where he talks about if you love what you're doing, failure is no reason to stop. So it's also about keep seeing the hurdles, the failures, all the challenges as learning opportunities, and really, like we talked about last week, that you can't fail. You become a success in the traditional sense, or you learn. You can't not grow. You can't not learn something.
That's so true. I had to get that mindset in, to be honest, because in the beginning, I think I was seeing everything very black and white. I either succeed or I fail. But as you said, and as we talked about, you either win or you learn. And both are very important. And actually, learning is even more important. I mean, it gives you more.
Yeah, you can use that in the future for your next adventure.
Exactly.
So how did you implement this mindset? You say you didn't have it before, and now you have it more, or?
I've been working a lot about on myself, and now I'm just seeing everything as a learning opportunity. And when something doesn't work out, and I also have now evidence or proof that even though some things don't work out sometimes, it's still for the better. It wasn't the right time or it wasn't the right place. So I think just being flexible with plans, being kind to yourself and not be too hard on yourself when you don't succeed with something. Of course, still aim to succeed with whatever you want to do, but there's just a learning curve for it.
Yeah. So it's a balance, right? It's not about not caring about what happens at all, but it's about not being too attached to the outcome, is what I'm hearing, and like focusing more on what's happening. And you say you've had the experience that things work out anyway, and maybe it looks like a bad thing now, but further down the road turns out to be, some other opportunity shows up, and it was actually for the better in many ways.
Yeah, so that happens to me a lot.
Yeah. So it's tough in the moment, but yeah, just remembering that everything works out. So what do you do specifically? So if we're gonna give something to people who might be listening in here, what is some strategy that people can use when they're in the tough moment and things are not turning out the way they hope to? They're not getting the results that they were aiming for. What is something they can do or say to themselves or think, or what is a strategy that you can apply in that moment?
I've been experimenting a lot with it, and I think it's very dependent on different people what works. But something that works for me is, so ideally when you have a company, you are solving a problem, and everyone says the bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity, and you're solving a problem for someone else and not for yourself. Whenever I do anything and it doesn't work out the way I want it to, I just take, how do I say it? I kind of take myself out from the mix and just think about the people that I'm solving the problem for. And it just gives me so much energy and motivation and everything. It's much easier to get through things that way. Yeah. You just think about the people that you're doing what you're doing for, and then it just gives you so much. And then you can definitely keep going. You will not give up.
Sounds like remembering like the higher purpose of what you're doing, the why behind your endeavor, your business, like taking the little ego, the little self out, and remembering that higher purpose. That's what is working for you.
Yes, because in the end of the day, or at the end of the day, I don't do what I do for myself. So I might as well, if I fail in something, as we discussed, it's a learning, and I'm doing it so that I can deliver my solution to the world and help the people that I want to help.
Yeah.
And just thinking this way is just, yeah, it's been helping me a lot.
And that's please go.
No, I just want to say, like, I also have a little more practical solution. I have a book, and every day, most of the days, let's say, I write down some things, why I'm proud of myself that day, what I did well. And when I have a low point, I just take the book and just look in, and there are a lot of things that I've done well. So that's something that helps me as well.
Yeah, so like a little boost for the confidence and the self-esteem. And I think there are lots of things that we can remind ourselves of as well. And like, just because you miss one little part of something, you miss one goal, doesn't mean you have to give up the whole project, right? It's about seeing the bigger picture and not focusing on that little bump on the road. So that's also what I'm getting from you here. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. So let's hope we're gonna hear more about failures and bumps on the road on LinkedIn. What is the biggest bump that you've overcome with these techniques, would you say?
That's a very good question. I don't know if it's the biggest, but the first major one that I've had is when I was trying to find a company to develop my minimum viable product. And I talked to so many companies, and I really wanted to find a good one so that, of course, the product ends up to be a good one. And the company that I did end up working with, I figured out along the way that the project manager was lying to me about everything, and she wanted to take the project away from the company, and she promised me that she would deliver the result and everything. She kept saying that I can trust her, and it was a huge scam. And I figured out because, I looked through the contracts very, very thoroughly before I was supposed to transfer the deposit to her. If I didn't figure it out, I would have lost all the money that I put into the company to get the minimum viable product done. So it's really good that I did, but it was not a good experience. And then I really had to calm down and think that, okay, these things happen, but you're still solving the problem of all these women out there, and you have to keep going for them.
Wow, so that was a near miss.
Yes.
What a story. And it's like, it's creating a business is really pioneering, right? It's a lot of trial and error and learning. So yeah, what is so if we should give one advice for people who want to implement more of this mindset of being okay with failure and keeping an eye on the bigger picture and remembering that this is normal if you're an entrepreneur and founder for a startup, what is one thing you think that we can give people to chew on for the rest of the day?
I really like this quote by Henry Ford: whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. I just think it's so good. I think, not to sound cliche or anything, but I think everything depends on, like, everything starts in your head, in your mind, and everything depends on what is in there. So I think aiming high and just believing that you can do it, and again, taking your ego out of the picture and just focusing on the crowd that you're solving the problem for. I think those are my best advices.
That's awesome. I think that's an awesome place to stop. Thank you so much, Beáta, and have a wonderful day, everyone.
Yes, bye everyone.
Bye.